So, how you doing, folks? Back with another video. It's been a while. Today we're going to be taking a look at this little thing. Not this thing in particular. This is a Raspberry Pi 4 B, I believe, with 8 gigabytes, or rather 4 gigabytes of RAM. I was using this as a kind of a little media server, but lately I configured it to be a DNS Pi-Hole with Unbound running DietPi OS, and it worked out pretty good. But I kind of like this and its multimedia capabilities. So what I might do is try and replace this with a better solution. Running DietPi and the Unbound service and Pi-Hole uses very little memory, so we're kind of underutilizing this. It's more compute than we need for what we want to do. Also, I've other projects and plans to use this, so I'd like to free it up. But with that said, I decided I'd get an alternative. So I went out and I got a Pi Zero. These are like 20 euro on Amazon. So this is the Pi Zero, the first one, WH revision. It's got the header pins on it. But what we're going to be doing with this is we're going to load this up with DietPi OS, and we'll run our services off that. It's much lower in power consumption. I'm hoping just passive cooling will be fine. Yeah, it's kind of everything we need compute wise. The only problem with it, not really a problem as such, is it has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, but I don't want to run any kind of web services over Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. So that's where this came in. This is the Waveshare hat. It's a USB hub, but it also gives you a gigabit Ethernet port. So that's what we're going to be using. And I went out and I got like the cheapest 32 gigabyte SSD, because speed wise, read write wise, it doesn't really matter all that much. I have some other memory cards if this one proves insufficient, but we're just going to go with that for now. With that said, what we'll need to do first is we're going to need to flash our OS onto this. So let me get this plugged in. I'll unpack our micro SD card and we'll get cracking. So over on my Windows PC here, I have Balena Etecher, and this is what we're going to use to write the ISO of DietPi OS onto our SD card. So what I'm going to do is select from File. If I go to my 0 directory, I have an image for DietPi for the version for the Pi 0, and I'll leave a link to where you can download this image on the description below. So we're going to select a target. Hopefully now generic, yeah, that's the one we want. Not any of the large drives. We select that one and we hit flash. We'll kind of leave it because it might take a while. So our SD card is written. It was a little quicker than I thought. I thought with the cheaper card it might take longer to actually write the image on, but it's done. So I'm going to go over to my monitor here. Again, we're on the Windows 11 PC, and I'm in my little folder that I've kind of correlated everything I need. Again, I have some notes made, so if I bring up Notepad++, and I recommend you use Notepad++ for this bit going forward rather than Notepad, just normal Notepad. In fact, you're probably better off using WordPad if you're not going to download Notepad++. But you know what, I think it's always worth. It's one of the first things I install on most PCs on new builds is Notepad++. It's just a great little tool. So we need to do some changes to some of the config files before we do our first boot and before we add the Waveshare USB hub and Ethernet hat. So in order to do that, normally when you set the onboard USB on the Pi 0 to allow for other devices such as Ethernet, you would go into your config.txt and add dt overlay equals DWC2. Now that's the driver that has extended support for other devices and other capability over that USB port. You'd also go into your command line TXT and add this. But considering that we're actually using a hub rather than a USB to Ethernet cable device, Waveshare has a separate setup. They actually suggest that you delete that. Otherwise, your Ethernet port may work, but your USB hub won't. So if you can see, they only recommend that you go into your config.txt and enable the driver. And also change the driver mode, whereas you can see that's not happening here. So that's something we need to do before we go. So I've kind of already got this in a copy pasta form, so I'm going to copy that there, and then we're going to go over to our USB drive J, which is our root directory for the actual DietPi install, and we're going to scroll down till we find config.txt. And we're going to edit that with Notepad. So what we want to do is scroll down right towards the end, and you can see here. I'm just going to double check my notes. I don't think it really matters exactly where we put it. Enable for solution to enable. Yeah, so I think we just pop it in anywhere at all. So if I go into the config.txt, I'm going to do... I want to double check that there's a line break here. So I'm going to break, paste. So this should be our new section. So if I just scroll up, I just want to see how it's all looking. So a hash indicates that it's been commented out, but that should be good for now. So that's our config.txt files changed. Again, we're not going to go into command line.txt. What I will do is I will go in and check to see if it's been if it has this line in it, and I'll remove it if it does. But I think we should be okay. So if I scroll down and we want command line.txt, and I'm just going to open edit with Notepad++. So we have root weight, and no, it's not present. So it's not present there, so we should be okay. So I'll close that, and I'm just going to save my changes there. Again, we've just added that. Hat, new section. That's just comments, and then we have the actual host mode and stuff. So okay, gonna close all that, and we're just going to insert our SD card. Oh, come on, fiddly when your microphones and cameras in the way. So there we go. So next, the fun bit, we're going to have a look at the Waveshare USB Ethernet hub with power over Ethernet. So you could go ahead and do your first boot now using the HDMI and power, and if you had like a micro USB keyboard, you could probably do it straight away. You could also SSH in over wireless, but I'm not really going to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and add the Waveshare now. That's why we altered the config files before we inserted the SD card. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and put together our little hat here. So we're going to open the box, have a look. Waveshare since 2006. And what have we inside? We have our case, which is really cool. It's got that Raspberry Pi color. You've what looks like two different parts for it. Lids. I'll probably use that one because I don't really need access to the I/O pins. So we put that to the side. Little screwdriver. I've tons of these from all the little projects I've done down the years. Some risers and screws to put it together. And the actual boards themselves, which is really cool. They're already pretty much put together. So yeah. So let me unpack all these, and we'll get to the assembly. So here we are with the Waveshare USB Ethernet hat. So it's got the power over Ethernet board on the bottom and our USB ports on the top. So we get 3 USB regular size ones, and we have this mini one here. We have our pogo pins, so this makes it solderless. They make contact with the board above. Lovely jubbly. So yeah, it's already come pretty much nearly complete in construction. We've just got to get a few of these little risers on so that we can sit our little board on top. So that's what we're going to do now. I'm going to shut up and get to that. It's gotten a little dusty here, but never mind. So here's our little case and the rather cool Raspberry Pi style lid for it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pop it in here for now. I'm not going to screw it down just yet or put the cover on. I'm just going to check for size. Yeah, I may have to use this one for now to kind of expose the GPIO pins. I had hoped that this one would fit over. It's no harm for it to get a little air intake, I guess, over here. May keep it a little bit cooler. But what I may do, I won't do it now, I'll do it in the near future, is desolder those GPIO headers, because I don't really need it. Yeah, that's what we'll possibly do. But I'm not going to even put the lid on it for now. I'm just going to leave it off. And we're going to put in a SD card, like such. That should be it in, just so I've exposed the proper ports. So I think it's time for our first boot. Hopefully the USB hub works out of the box so I can plug in, because I have no USB ports or peripherals like keyboards or mice that'll work with this, but we only really need a keyboard. So hopefully once it boots and we get into DietPi config, I'll be able to use my spare USB keyboard. So let me get that set up. So moment of truth here, I have my USB power cable and I'm just going to plug it in. It's hooked up to the Elgato, so if it should power up. But whether we get a display or not, oh, we have a display. And we're away, it's decompressing. So we let it decompress. So we have a login, username root, and password DietPi. So will my keyboard work? Yes, it works. So login DietPi. So we want root DietPi. All right, so let me see if I can do something about the resolution here, because it does look a bit gammy. So I removed the HDMI plug from the Raspberry Pi Zero and I have it back in the camera. So what we're going to do is we're going to SSH in, because the capture, even though on my second monitor it looked fine, in the capture it was a little bit weird. So what we'll do is we'll SSH, oh, an extra S there, SSH, and we're going to go to root at 192.168.0, and I believe it's .54. And are you sure you want to continue? Yeah, it's because I've never connected to it before. Oh, I have to type yes. Okay. Okay, so the password is DietPi. And we're in. So it's doing a little update because, yeah, it'll do an apt update on its first boot because, yeah, that's a good thing. So hopefully it doesn't take too long, and I'll cut back when it's done. Okay, so we're at the initial install page. That took a little longer because I failed at the start to plug in the Ethernet cable because I wanted to use the most up-to-date packages, and in order to do that it had to phone home as such. So what we're going to do is we are going to get on with the fun stuff. So we're going to browse the software that's available to install on our DietPi OS on the Raspberry Pi Zero. So we're going to browse the software. Okay, so here's our list. So we're going to go way down the list. Cloud and backup, gaming, no. Camera, nice, but we're not going to use it. That motion eye will be really cool one to check out in the future on a more powerful Pi. Remote access, Python. What we need is Pi-Hole and Unbound. So powerful network side, ads and tracker blocking, DNS server. So we want that, and we want Unbound. I'm not going to put AdGuard on, just because I'm not too sure about that. So we'll just go with the Pi-Hole and Unbound, and that should be the best setup here. So we're going to hit confirm. Static IP address, yeah, we've already set that up to be 192.168.0.54, and we'll have to apply that in the DHCP reservations, the static IP addresses of the router, but I'll show you that a little later on. Go start. Yeah, that's what I should have done. Would you like to begin? Okay. Apache, popular, yeah. Lightweight. Confirm. So it's going to go through the install process. I'll leave it go, and I'll speed it up, and we'll cut back when it's done. So we're back, and it's installed the Apache web service. That took longer than I thought. It had a lot of dependencies it probably had to download and stuff. Unbound is installed, and now we're going through the Pi-Hole installation. So this installer will transform your device into a network-wide ad blocker. Okay. Pi-Hole is free, blah blah blah. Pi-Hole is a server that needs a static IP address. Oh, wait now. See. Select the upstream DNS. So we're going to go with Google. Pi-Hole, third-party list order to block. Are you sure? Yes. Select privacy mode for Wi-Fi. Show everything. Yeah, that's all fine. And now it should go ahead and install. So I'll cut back when it's done. So here we are, and it's configure your device to use Pi-Hole as their DNS servers using this IP address. So it's given us the where to log in through the web interface for admin, and it's also given us a password. So I've taken a picture of that with my mobile phone, but you could scribble it down somewhere. So we're going to hit OK, and it's going to go through, and hopefully we'll just get to a boot screen after a brief kind of finalization. So, yeah, this next landing page is about security. So it wants to limit access to the Pi-Hole from external IP addresses. So do you want to block access to the admin panel? Yes. from anything that isn't inside the deny access for all IPs that do not match, yeah, my LAN. So we'll hit yes and let it go ahead and configure that. So are we going to take part in the survey? Opt out and purge data. Okay, let's do that then. We'll just opt out and purge data. So here we go. This is a boot and we're in. So there you go. That's up and running. So if we go to htop, we should see our services running there, which is great. Pi-Hole under root. That's awesome. And we are using memory, very little memory, which is great. We're using 34.5, 40-ish megabytes out of the possible 500 megabytes. But to be honest with you, running on a larger Pi, I only topped out at 120 megabytes. So yeah, there's loads of memory there. So I'm going to hit F10, quit out of that. So that's great. Our install is done. We have a system up and running. We're running at 42 degrees centigrade, which is optimal. Yeah, that's awesome. So what I'm going to do is I am going to reboot, reboot, and we'll be kicked out of our SSH, and yeah, the Pi should fire up again shortly. So awesome, we're up and running. That's brilliant. So I can end my session here. What we'll do now is I'll just disconnect stuff here, and we'll attach the little rubber feet and kind of just finalize the setup in the case. So I'd like to show you how to set up the static IP on the router, but first I cut off the top of the GPIO pins with a flush cutters just because I was too lazy to actually desolder it. And also I don't like this kind of lead-free solder. It can be a pain to desolder. You're better off flowing in some lead-free stuff, or leaded solder rather, and desoldering it then. I have a desoldering station, but yeah, I mean, I'm never going to use them, so yeah, I just cut off them all down flush as I could. So we're going to pop this in the case and get it buttoned up, and then I'll show you how to set up the router. So here we are in my gateway, my router homepage. So what we need to do is we need to set the reservations and set up our DNS server. So if we go to LAN, and you can kind of see the DietPi where it's connected and its IP address. So what I'll do is I go to DHCP. And you can see I had it set up before for the other, for the Raspberry Pi 4, but now with the Pi 0, I need to change that to 4. So we're going to apply that. So if I go into the DHCP reservations and select DietPi here and ID number 3, and I'm going to copy to that, do a system reboot. And we're going to reboot the router now with the new settings. So I'll cut back in a minute or two once the reboot is done. So now our internet is back up and running. Our router has rebooted. So I'm going to go back to LAN. If we go to DHCP, yeah, our settings have stuck. So our Pi-Hole here is number 1, and then I'm using OpenDNS as my secondary. So just in case the Pi goes offline, it'll go back to this. Again, settings are going to be different, interface is going to be different, but it'll be something similar on your own home router. So with that said, what I'll do is we're going to SSH back in to admin, or sorry, it'll be root at 192.168.0.54 and DietPi. And there we go. So we're running at 40 degrees centigrade, which is awesome. And our system is up and running. So another thing I can do is if I go to open a new tab, and if I go to 192.168.0.54 and here we are at the actual kind of landing page for the Pi-Hole, and we can see how many clients are connected. Let me see. Yeah, so you can see my D-Link router, my home Wi-Fi. This is a virtual one, but yeah, everything's there. That's really awesome. So what I can do now is kind of cut back and finish things up. So that's our DietPi OS on a Raspberry Pi Zero running Pi-Hole and Unbound in a nice cool form factor, with the hat, with the Ethernet and the USB. Really cool solution. Eventually I'll be able to run it with just one cable going to it, power over Ethernet and SSH in. I won't be putting a shell or a desktop environment on this. It'll just be used as a Pi-Hole. I may have other web services running on it, but for now that's all I need. I needed something with a low power footprint on the network that can act as a Pi-Hole. I may put some network monitoring stuff on it in the future, but for now it's fine the way it is. Nice little form factor. Can live quite comfortably with just the PoE connection up near my switch in the future. For now I'm going to run it with USB power because I have to sort out a few other things with my home network that might feature in an upcoming video. So with that said, this cool little mini computer, it'll do its job, and it frees up my Raspberry Pi 4 here to the 4B with the 4 gigabytes of RAM to do other kind of multimedia stuff, be it like maybe some emulation or just a desktop environment, media kind of a computer. But yeah, it frees this up because really, you know, the amount of memory on board here, for what I wanted to do with Pi-Hole, you don't need this much compute. Makes more sense to have something like a Pi Zero, because even with 512 megabytes of RAM, I'm only ever going to use about 100 megabytes tops for what I want to do with this. So this one, I'll get the SD card out, probably put Raspbian or Ubuntu or something back onto it, and load it up with kind of media stuff, basically. Well, cool folks, that was our look at the Raspberry Pi Zero with DietPi OS. Yeah, really cool little mini computer. Well, cool folks, thanks for tuning in, and I'll chat to you all again.